You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hello and welcome to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. My name is Jordan Lowe Moonves.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
And I'm Seth. How many people are going to know that? Everybody's going to know that because everybody loved the Big Brother episode.
Big Brother has taken this podcast by storm.
To new heights.
All anyone wants to talk about.
One day I'll watch an episode of that show. Maybe.
We did before you got here.
Did you?
There was one.
Yeah, I swung by Wendy's before coming here, and they had they renovated the new Wendy's down there. They got a nice flat screen TV up on the wall playing Big Brother. I'm like, I really need to get to the podcast, but Tom Green's kicking footballs. He's getting dizzy and kicking footballs. I can't leave yet. I got to see what happens.
So we're back, regular episode.
Yeah.
For all the new listeners, possibly.
Right. Voting has ended for Clutch MOV's Best of the Mid-Ohio Valley voting totals, but we have not heard yet.
Oh, I thought we were going to do an episode version that we won, and just be like, "Oh, thanks everybody, we won." Whatever.
So results come out Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. I'm very invested.
Got a couple weeks.
No, whatever. Hey, thanks for voting. If you did, we're going to do the podcast anyway, even if we lost. So what are we doing? Let's do something. Let's just get cracking here.
Do it. Click the mouse.
You down with KPP?
Yeah, you know me.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
You know me.
What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
You know me.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
You know me.
You don't know how it feels to be me. You don't know me by now.
Why are you the way that you are?
I feel like every time we play that bumper, it adds like 5 minutes to the podcast.
The best fun.
We're so exhausted.
We haven't done one of these for a while. We haven't done this segment for a while.
And you guys are complaining about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I pulled the question out of Jordan's hat of questions.
Pick a random getting to know you question. So you at home and us here at the Ka-Pow layer get to know each other a little better.
So here's the question that I pulled, and I wanted to throw it out. So I feel like we've told so many of these stories, but he said, "What'd you tell me, Barbara?"
I said, you guys don't want to delve so deep. I said, I'm like Barbara Waters. I gotta crack your exterior shielding and get to the meat at the center.
Okay, so we'll dig deep this time. What's it? A memorable experience at the movie theater. I mean, oh my gosh, how many stories have we told?
Well, that's all complaining about a movie theater.
Yeah, that's true.
Is there any good? Have you ever had a good experience at a movie theater?
Ever? Okay. Well, what do you got?
Barb.
That's your new name, Barb.
I wrote these... Barb Moonves. I wrote these questions. I wrote these so long ago. Like, I didn't have something prepared for this either. So I just... at a quick top of my head, a couple memories. I remember seeing Pinocchio in the theater. That might have been the first one I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Actually going to the theater, and I remember being scared out of my wits. Something about being turned into a donkey.
That's a scary thing.
It freaked me out so much. Like the very concept of like turning into a donkey by being if I'm a bad boy, I might turn into a donkey. I don't know, something. It wasn't the whale. It wasn't all the other weird stuff.
There's some weird stuff in that movie.
I don't want to be a donkey. I remember seeing Masters of the Universe in theaters. also being terrified. I remember I was not ready for Beastman, I don't think. He was too freaky. There's some movie I saw. It wasn't Space Camp, but it was some movie about outer space.
Space Camp's a great movie.
And my mom sent me and my brothers in, and when we came back out, she said, "Was it over his head?" Meaning, did I understand it? I said, "No, I could see just fine." And that became family lore. That was like, Jordan said something funny. Let's send it in a reader's
Someday
digest.
he should have a podcast.
And you're not understanding anything.
Yeah,
I think my most memorable was probably when the Ninja Turtle movie premiered. I was so hyped. I was such a fan of Ninja Turtles, and the mall had a big event. They had a guy in a turtle costume, and I don't know, it must have been opening weekend or whatever, and I was so beyond hyped, and then I got sick that day. I'm like, I'm still going. I'm still
no
going.
matter what.
So yeah, I think I was miserable the whole time, but it was a killer experience.
I was trying to think what my first memory was going to the theater, and I really don't. I don't know. My dad actually worked in downtown Marietta here when it used to be the Colony Theater. He ran the projectors. He worked there. So
Instead of complaining to the
yes.
manager.
Now I know who to send my complaints to.
But so at a very young age, very very young age, I actually was up in the projector room as he just ran the reels, because they were the old timey reels that you had to switch the film and stuff.
Right.
And yes, but the first real memory I remember, my aunt took me with her boyfriend and they were in high school. They must have been like seniors in high school in like 1984, and they took me to see Ghostbusters at the mall. So I would have been like 5 years old, probably a little too young for Ghostbusters. And I just remember her telling me, if you see anything scary, just cover your eyes. And if you hear anything you're not supposed to hear, just cover your ears. I distinctly remember that, but
1980s child rearing.
that's right. That's right. So, but yeah, I remember that. I remember the first movie I saw in Marietta when they built the Lafayette Center theaters. Don't tell Mom the babysitter's dead. My cousin came, I think it was in summertime.
What year did they build that? Because I was trying to think of that the other day.
Well, whatever year that movie came out.
Well,
It must have been like 91, 92?
it was definitely opened in 91.
Okay.
Because I remember seeing a movie there then.
So right about 1991.
Yeah, because we had to go clear to the mall for
Yeah.
the longest time.
Yeah,
And
next town over.
And you had to go down.
These
the
local memories are
steps.
going to pay off more if we won the Clutch MOV.
That's right.
That's all these local new listeners. Here's what we cover everything about the Mid-Ohio Valley. Both movie theaters.
That's right. Big town.
Both podcasts.
But yeah, I just remember my cousin, he was maybe just a senior in high school at that time. He came and picked me up in his Jeep, and I thought it was really cool. We were going to go see this movie, at the big new theater, and that's what we saw, so.
All right. I jotted down a few memories here while you guys were talking. Let's see. I remember I saw Pet Sematary in the front row. Only movie I ever saw in the front row. Because it was packed. Fell asleep watching Robin Hood. That's a great date. Great date. Jurassic Park. I remember seeing that in the theater and how awesome that was. And the T-Rex pulling the banner down. Like, I can just feel like I'm there. And also, the Fallen World this past year, sitting there with my buddy I almost got in a fight with, and we had a great time. Let's see. I remember seeing Hateful Eight and 70mm in Pittsburgh was a great experience. Seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey in 35mm last year was awesome. I always wanted to see that on the big screen. I remember seeing Star Wars Special Edition in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Before it actually came out, we knew a girl at the theater, and then the film burned up on the screen, and it was awesome. We went up to the film room, and it was full of film everywhere, all over the place, back when that was a thing. We were saying, while you were talking about seeing Pinocchio, I was like, I remember seeing the Aristocats in the, like, I want to say we were at the Smoot. Did they have a balcony? Because we were in the balcony, and I thought that was so cool to watch it. Something as a little kid in the balcony.
Aristocatic.
Yeah. And then I just finished up with went to see a lot of movies with my mom while she was alive. But we watched some. Nick and I are watching Breaking Bad. Side note: now we're watching Breaking Bad, and there's a lot of, pretty graphic things that go on in that show. And I was like, this nothing, Nick. I watched some crazy movies with my mom. Like, people would not watch with their parents. I was like, I watched Brokeback Mountain with my mom. Watched Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is very violent and sexual, and then the last movie I saw with her was Creed in 2015, and I'll never forget that experience, wheeling her in there and everything. It was the last time we got to see a movie together. So you pulled it out of me, Barb.
We have a soft focus lighting.
Yeah, so I just couldn't help it. Yeah, I had to get sentimental, but a lot of great memories at the theater.
Yeah.
None of those, I don't remember any popcorn anywhere in any of those memories.
You're crazy. I think I always eat popcorn. No, it's funny because I've seen so many movies, but to me, I don't really remember a lot of the experiences, that were very memorable. I remember, like, Transformers, the movie, in 1986 when it came out. I remember going with my parents, and I remember in, like, the first 20 minutes, they killed off all the Autobots, and then they killed Optimus, and then I was one of those kids that was not ready for that. And I remember being like, I don't like Transformers anymore. I'm done with Transformers. I like G.I. Joe now. Like, I remember that, but I don't. Other than that, I don't remember a lot. I remember the movies, but not so much the theater.
You got to know us a little bit there.
Then during Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Oh gosh, you're getting to know too much.
Let's talk about all the turtles.
I don't know. I was there with Jared, my little brother, and these girls were in front of us, like, whispering and giggling. And one of them came back and sat down next to me and gave me a phone number.
What?
This was like, I was in elementary school. I was like, what's happening? And then she went back, and then she came back. She's like, that wasn't from me, that's from my friend. Like, she was worried.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember going to the bathroom afterwards and throwing the phone number away. Because I'm like, you guys are ruining my Ninja Turtle experience. But I remember looking, and it was an 896 number from Lowell. So I know, like, 5 years later, I went to high school with whoever that was that gave me a phone number. I was like, I wish I would have kept that number.
You missed your opportunity.
I could figure out who that was.
This isn't the same girl that you saw Stargate not with.
Santa Claus.
I would have known to avoid her because she does not take her turtle seriously.
All right. We did it. Let's move on. What are we doing next?
TV.
Oh, Dolores.
What the hell is a sticky maple?
Run, Barry, run! That's what I do. I dream, and I know things.
Go get him, Supergirl.
Well, what this guy look like, anyways?
Oh, he's a little guy, kind of funny looking.
Uh-huh. In what way?
Oh, just in a general kind of way.
Exterminate!
Little pig! Let me in!
These violent delights have violent ends.
That's what she said.
Groovy.
How's that one holding up? Is that one still timely, or we need to...
I don't know.
Update that.
You guys making work for me?
Yeah, we're gonna need a fresh bumper there, Clip. So TV. Hey, I binged all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Really?
Because there was that whole thing. They brought it back
On NBC.
on NBC, and I had never watched it, so I binged the whole thing.
Like, if I was around and it was on, I would watch it, but I didn't make it a point. I always liked what I saw, but I never really committed to it.
I wouldn't be like my official review afterwards. I would not say you must run and go watch all the episodes, but I enjoyed it. I think Andy Samberg is funny, and what's the guy's name?
Andre Brower.
Yeah, he's hilarious on there. It's good. I really like the show, so I'm glad I did it.
I've been since it moved to NBC. I've been
now I'm all caught up. Yeah, I've watched those first few episodes, so that was worth it. If anybody thinks they are interested. It's worth watching. And we gotta touch on Big Brother.
We apparently have to.
Oh man, this is lifeblood right here.
Yeah, they're doing the second season of Celebrity Big Brother. Jordan and I just watched the latest episode right just a few minutes ago.
Please tell me there's like some weird intersection that one of the people that were on our season of Big Brother is on this season of
no,
Celebrity.
Alf is not on this.
No, Mr. Miyagi.
No.
I thought I saw Jesse, but it was just Joey Lawrence.
Whoa. It's ridiculous. There's not much to say about it.
I watched a lot of the first season of Celebrity Big Brother. I tell myself it was for the podcast. I gotta stay up to date, but I enjoyed it. Whatever, it was fine. But I watched the first episode of this one just to see who was on it. The celebrities beyond Tom Green, the celebrities just didn't grab me.
Right.
Because I can't.
Is Tom Green really a celebrity anymore?
In my life.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of peaked there his MTV days.
I don't know if we ever talked about it, but I think Tom Green deserves a lot more credit in the history of comedy. He was making like viral videos before the internet. That MTV show for a short time.
Oh, it was great.
And the next day at school, that's all anyone. Oh, Tom Green did this. Did you see it? It was crazy.
He put his bum on something.
But that kind of Adult Swim type absurdist humor, the pranks and viral type videos, and messing with his parents. Like, how many kids do that now on YouTube?
Yeah, that turned into Bam on that MTV show, messing with his parents.
So I always liked Tom Green a lot.
Yeah.
And he seems like a fairly normal person. But any of the Real Housewives or a Kato Kalin, like those type of people who are just whatever.
Kato Kalin, America's House Guest.
Whatever I can do to stay in the public eye, and I can't.
I'm relevant, damn it.
Yeah.
Joey Lawrence likes to do bathroom stuff. He spent, that's what he said, and he spent a lot of time in the bathroom. He's out now, but Tom. Basically, so far, Tom is he knows what he's doing, but he was playing way too fast, and he's going to end up going out here. And the most absurd moment was when Ricky Williams was massaging Kato Kalin's colon and sweating profusely as he did it.
Ricky Williams, the football player?
Yeah, oh yeah. He's a healer now. And Kato was constipated. So I swear I watch it for the strategy.
He should take some Kato pectate.
Yeah. Ooh. Anyway, but I got to trash on Joey Lawrence for a second, because they do one of the competitions a week or so ago was an endurance competition where they always have where they're standing on a wall or whatever, and it was like freezing cold, and they're spraying them with stuff, and he just keeps saying, "We need to hurry this competition up." He's like, "This is uncomfortable, and we could hurry this up. Hurry it up, hurry it up." And he just complained. They didn't show it on the show, but like on the Pop TV and stuff, you could watch the whole competition. And he's just like, on and on. Why are we taking so long to do this? And finally, the one wrestler girl was like, "It's an endurance competition. This is the competition." They had to explain it. It's like, if you're uncomfortable, get down. It will be over once everybody gets down. It's just like, he did not get it. He's like, why are we not speeding this up? Oh, so
yeah, that would seem like many of the people in the house had never seen the show or know a thing about it, and the other half were, okay, we gotta form alliances, we gotta do this, we gotta flip this guy, and
right.
They're either way too knowledgeable or not at all.
Yeah, like Tom's just basically like way ahead of himself. He knows just enough to be dangerous to himself. He's like, yeah, we gotta make this alliance. Oh, now one of them's gonna take us out at the end. Let's get rid of him now. Bad idea. Anyway, so if you're watching it, it's about the same kind of stuff as last year. It's not your traditional Big Brother where they get to know each other for months and they get, there's a lot more strategy involved. This is more just ridiculous.
But is there enough drama, because they're all celebrities and full of drama, I assume?
Oh yeah, Lolo Jones.
Is there an equivalent level of drama?
Just because they're all full of themselves, yeah.
Right.
And but the major big difference between this and regular Big Brother is they get to go home and can just watch it. And so there's no sequester, so you have to be careful what you do and what you say about people, because that's going to affect how they vote for you.
And this thing you talk about, Anthony Scaramucci,
Yeah, it was a joke.
confounded me.
Yeah, he was only in there for a week, and then he went to that Davos thing in Switzerland or some money convention he goes to, and I don't know. Anyway, he was just like...
I've never been invited to a money convention.
Well, you're just not... You don't rank. But anyway, apparently it was just some stunt to get people to watch.
What does Anthony Scaramucci have to... What does his presence give to any of us?
Right.
Except
I'm not trying to redo the Omarosa thing from last year. But I will say, like, I was telling you that some people are different than you think they would be. Like, you see enough of them on this pop TV and stuff that you get a feel for who they really are. And where I thought Ryan Lochte was kind of a douche, basically, he is just a really nice guy. He's really dumb, but he was really nice. And like Dina Lohan, Lindsay Lohan's mom, where I just thought she would just be a mess, just a terrible mess, and full, diva, you were guessing, and she's not. She's like this sweet old lady.
So what happened?
I don't know.
Did she get into that?
I don't
Where it
know.
all went off?
They did give her wine a couple nights ago, and that unlocked some of her craziness, but she's really just a nice lady. Lolo Jones is a maniac. Okay, we've spent enough time on that.
I'm not sure. Conan has a new format.
Yeah, I checked that out the other night.
He was off for a couple months there around the holidays, and which, there have been rumors before that he was going to either cancel the show or change the show, and he's back now, just a half hour a night on TBS. No band. He's not wearing a suit. He's just wearing like a shirt and tie and either some kind of loose jacket kind of thing. Very loose. It's not, the monologue isn't really like tight joke. He just kind of comes out. He has scripted stuff, but he's a little more loose with the audience. One funny bit and then a long conversation, or one night he had a guest and a comedian. So just a very kind of abbreviated version of a show. And it's been enjoyable so far. And that's a nice little bite-sized thing. There's so many late-night shows. Yeah. A lot of times I would skip Conan. If there was nobody on I wanted to see, it's easy to just not.
I just think it's cool that he's getting to do what he wants to do. He's got a new podcast out. He's revamped his show to shorten it and just kind of do his own thing.
And the podcast, if you haven't checked it out, it is excellent. Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. It's on the Earwolf Network. Is a conglomerate of different podcasts. I don't think we're on that one. We should probably check.
We need to be.
As of this recording, there's been 11 episodes, and they're all around an hour. He's had Will Ferrell, Kristen Bell, Dax Shepard.
An hour. What an amateur.
Yeah, come on, Conan. But I even listened to the ads. He does like the... we're sponsored by whatever, audible.com, like every podcast. Yeah. Like the Dueling Ogres. But he talks and he makes jokes and they're funny. Even the ads are content entertainment. He had Wanda Sykes, he had Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally together. Bill Burr, Pete Holmes, Mark Maron, Ron Funches, Adam Sandler, and Dana Carvey was the most recent one. So just people he likes and that he gets along with and has a good conversation with. And his assistant, Sona, and there's a producer there. So it's just very bare bones. There's no sound effects or wacky stuff. It's just a good conversation, and he's very funny in that format.
I listened to the first one as far as I made it so far, but yeah.
It's hard to keep up with the podcast right now. There's so many out. Everybody's got one.
Really?
Yeah.
What else you got TV?
Oh, well, the CW has renewed all of our DC shows, including Riverdale, Season 4.
Yeah.
So, I was happy to... Even old Arrow's coming back for one more.
We were sure this was it.
And I was reading a little bit on the upcoming Batwoman spinoff, and it's pretty much a guaranteed go. So, I'm not sure where they're going to fit it into the weekly lineup, but we're going to have to add a day to the week for another DC show.
Are you keeping up on all the CW fare?
For the most part, I'm a few behind. I got into that weird Christmas break and holiday break and I get away from it and I forget to go back and watch a few, and then I end up binging them all at the same time.
I realized we had not talked about Black Lightning
at all
since the premiere. I've got notes for 11 episodes.
Oh my gosh.
That's one, along with The Gift, that I've taken to kind of watching with my finger on the button, fast forwarding through. It's fine. It's good, but it's just, like I said, there's so much going on.
We'd like it a lot more in any other era of TV. There's just so much right now with superhero shows.
But this one, the beginning of this season, Robert Townsend was a guest star as a school board member, which, famed Meteor Man.
Yeah.
We're talking about African American superheroes. I mean, Robert Townsend, you don't get much bigger than Meteor Man. It broke ground! Yeah, come on. So yeah, we're dealing with Tobias Whale as the villain, and that kid Khalil. We gave the super spine. He was paralyzed, and they gave the
Sticky Maple Chuck.
Right.
From Riverdale.
So he and Jennifer, his youngest daughter, are kind of on the run, and then Thunder, his oldest daughter, she's been like robbing drug dealers to get money for this thing. So like all the kids are trying to do their own thing, and Black Lightning, it's family drama as well. But we had the Looker, a DC villain. She had these weird metallic tendrils. Mm-hmm. I don't know much about that character, but
I don't either.
It was like liquid metal that would go in people, and then she could control them. But they introduced this weird concept. There were these Sonjay. There were these white gun runners from South Freeland, which Freeland is the urban city where they live. But in South Freeland is a very rural area where there's Confederate flags everywhere. So they have invented this whole other Southern New York is not like the South, but South Freeland has racists and drug dealers and things. I don't know where I was going with that. Then we Cutter was another villain who showed up, throws knives and things. Again, not a DC.
They're really digging deep for these.
So these are some deep cuts here. Cutter. And then, in the last episode I watched, Jennifer was reading a comic book, and it was The Unexpected, one of those more recent New Age of Heroes DC books. But she had the cover bent clear around the other side, she had folded in half. I was like, come on, Jennifer, that's not how you handle it. But Tobias ripped the spinal thing out of Khalil's body because he betrayed him. So you don't cross away. I do not fast forward when Tobias is on screen.
Yeah,
he is so compelling to watch. So I don't think the second season's has been as good as the first because I'm not paying as close of attention. But there's a lot going on. They're throwing in a lot of DC stuff, so still fun.
Anybody watching the Goldbergs still?
Yep.
What do you think of it? Did you watch the Wedding Singer episode where they wrote in, the classic Adam Sandler movie?
Yeah.
And had John Lovitz come in?
Yeah.
No.
I haven't seen one in a while that I've been super hyped.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too. I feel like it's kind of went downhill.
I think it's run its course.
Yeah.
Now they have that spinoff, which I'm not going to watch that. But
that's premiered.
Schooled, yeah. My daughter says it's okay, but she's 11.
She likes Riverdale,
right? Get your own podcast, Carly. No, it's fine. I always watch it, but I don't. I
do too. It's
the same thing over and over.
Yeah, it's lost some magic there. The kid that plays Barry on the show used to be enough to keep me really interested because I just always found him hilarious, and I'm watching it out of some weird
obligation.
Yeah.
At this point.
But I look at episode descriptions, and it's Barry's getting married, and anytime a show's on so long, the show has to change so much, and
right.
Kids move out, and you have to get a Cousin Oliver move in,
right.
that kind of thing. It's just end when you're on top.
Yeah. One show that never disappoints me, though.
Oh, I'm scared to hear what it is.
This Is Us.
Okay.
I know you guys don't really watch it.
Oh, I watch it here and there. Mostly.
Here and there?
I mostly watch it.
But it's been...
Because I work with a bunch of girls and they watch it. And I want to make fun of it, so I want to know all the details.
It's really solid, though. It sucks me in. Like, I'll go a couple weeks and not watch it, and then my wife will... it'll pop up on Hulu, or she's watching it or whatever, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Strap in, we're going to go for a ride on here. But yeah, this season has been really good to me. They've developed the Kevin
this season's been good to Cliff.
It's been good to me. They've developed the Kevin character a little bit more, made him more interesting, and looking into his dad's past and the time he spent in the Vietnam War, and that was really interesting. The story that they're currently doing with their long lost uncle.
So can I comment?
Yeah.
On that? I don't like stupid misunderstanding things. It's like that guy, his brother's whole life is ruined because he doesn't just say that thing with that kid was an accident. Like, no, I don't want to hear it. You can't just say it.
No, I don't think it would have mattered if he said it or not.
But he said that's the whole thing. Is at the end he's like, I never got to tell him that was an accident. It was like he was sitting in the room with you, and all you had to do was say it. Whether he says he didn't want to hear it or not, you could have said it. So, whatever. It just, that stuff irritates the crap out of me. It's a good show. It is. It is a good show. But some of the little things like that, it's like you're just creating problems to have a show.
Well, it's got to have a lot of drama. But I want to say one thing: the most dramatic reaction I've had so far to this show happened a couple episodes ago. So, Toby and Kate.
Oh, I know.
You know where I'm going.
I was talking about this to the girls at work. I was like, I don't care about this other storyline.
Right.
I want to know what happened to these Star Wars figures.
I was depressed for like 3 days after when she sold his original 1977 Star Wars figures. I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
You should have seen the diatribe I threw at work. I was like, listen, whatever's going on with this, I don't care.
Irreplaceable.
He had these Star Wars figures.
We've all been there. This is all our nightmare.
Right.
They didn't mount in a crock pot, did they?
No, but worse.
Yeah.
He clearly had that box marked with some ridiculous abbreviation.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I didn't get that either. I was like, that's stupid. But yeah, she sold his vintage Star Wars figures, and Cliff and I were on the edge of our seats.
Oh, it was the most dramatic thing that ever happened on that show. Brought back bad memories, and I think that's all I've got for TV.
All right.
Well, we've had Deadly Class premiere on Sci-Fi Channel.
How's that? Did you read the comic?
A little bit. This is Rick Remender and Wesley Craig comics from Image Comics. And Rick Remender is apparently he's co-written most of the scripts, and he's like one of the two showrunners on the thing, so he's really involved. And it's executive produced by the Russo brothers. Did all the best Marvel movies, arguably. I really liked it so far. When you hear sci-fi original, there's been so many years of subpar, goofy stuff that I've had people say, "Oh, you got to check out The Expanse or any of these shows. They're really good." Like, I never trust that they are because it's Sci-Fi Channel, so their brand never screams quality to me. But I don't know. I've really enjoyed this one. It's kids at an academy learning to kill, basically.
X-Men.
And it's right. Yes.
Okay.
To me, my X-Men. It's the main star is Benedict Wong, who plays Wong in Doctor Strange.
It's a stretch.
With Benedict Cumberbatch.
Don't get confused.
Right.
Don't get it twisted.
But it's a neat idea. It's set in the 80s, in 1987, so it's all that Reagan-era angst. And there are legacy students there who are children of the Yakuza, high-ranking CIA people. So they are just kind of gifted in, and then there are the lower class people who just there's a couple orphans and kids that they think with potential. So it's all about the different class structure, class struggle, that kind of stuff. And every episode so far has had some animated bits to either show a flashback or something, and it takes the art directly from the comic, so it looks just like it jumped off the page. So Henry Rollins is guest starred on it, Brian Posehn, French Stewart, Bird Rock from the Sun was like a serial killer in a like chained down like Hannibal Lecter in a wheelchair. It's like, the most crazy person on earth.
You mean like Hal Cooper?
We'll get there.
So there's only been a few so far, but I've been enjoying it. I'm going to watch the whole season.
Cool.
Is this better than Blood Drive?
It's slightly different from Blood Drive. A little bit higher quality, but same thing. They're using adult language and terrible violence. So sci-fi lets them get away with it.
Okay. So is that all TV? All right.
Yep. There's something very important I forgot to tell you.
What?
Don't cross the streams.
Islands in the stream, that is what we are.
Cross the streams.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of Fire Festival stuff. You said you watched the Netflix one.
I did.
I watched the Netflix and the Hulu one. Cliff, did you watch either of those?
I watched the Netflix.
Okay, well that's the better one. I've seen it both.
The greatest party that never happened. It's called.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of talk about it, so might be old news for some people, but we watched it. It was those poor rich people.
That's part of my thinking is like, are we supposed to feel sorry for these kids?
Yeah, they were ridiculously wealthy, and they lived.
But honestly, the first half of the movie or so, I started like my palms started sweating. Of like, as someone who has put on events before, namely comic conventions, I'm thinking of like the Netflix documentary for River City Comic Con Year 1 that was at the fairgrounds. It's like, there's this sad footage of Nightcrawler's makeup melting down his face because it was so hot in there.
Yeah, that was the convention on the sun.
Yes, so beyond my control, the weather was very hot, and I'm just imagining the lawsuits piled up. So I'm part of me. I'm like, maybe he was trying. Maybe he really wanted to do this big party, and he was trying. And then the longer the documentary goes on, you realize he was not coming at this from the right place. It was a scam from day one.
Yeah, I going into it, I was putting off watching the Netflix movie, and then the other day when you mentioned about watching it, I was like, okay, I better watch it. Because I didn't know much about it, other than it was a failed, music festival or something. So I found it really interesting. I mean, it's very odd, that there something like this happens where, it's so poorly planned and funded ridiculously.
It's a scam.
But the fact that it was a scam, but they have all the footage of it as it's really happening makes it fascinating to watch.
He's so welcome to the cameras. Like, come and watch me as I mess all this up.
Yeah, I'm going to steal all your money and give you nothing.
But I found it kind of pigtails? Dovetails. It does something.
DuckTales.
It matches what we were talking about the last Riverdale episode. And if you don't listen to those, you're missing out. Because we're talking about the stars of Riverdale on Instagram and how they use that to promote the show. And this, I know...
And we're the idiots that follow them and watch it.
So, I know what's going on in culture. I know who the Kardashians are. But I didn't realize the power and the idea of the influencer.
Yeah.
And that word kind of makes me cringe now.
I'd never heard that word until I watched this.
But I hear getting thrown out, we got to have the influencers do this. So, to launch this thing, they paid Kendall Jenner $250,000. $250,000 to post something on Instagram.
Guys, we got to get Instagram.
Right. That's what this is all dovetailing and pigtailing toward, is how do we become influencers?
Yes.
No, but that's that they, if someone like Kendall Jenner says this is a cool party, are people not realizing this is an ad?
Right.
And there's been, I think these documentaries have kickstarted this a little bit, that there needs to be disclosures that if you're doing this for pay, there needs to be some kind of
they're supposed to put ad,
and they
hashtag
don't.
ad.
And it was saying
something.
like, Bella Hadid and Emily Ratajkowski, these
Almost.
models, they said all these people have gone back and deleted all these posts about Fire Festival. But said one of them out of like a dozen put hashtag ad to say. So I don't know, like I wonder about all these young people following these quote unquote influencers. If you're watching TV and the commercials come on, it's like, use Tide to get your clothes clean. You know that's an ad.
Yeah.
But does everyone on Instagram scrolling through, Kendall Jenner just doesn't love that lip gloss because it makes her lip shine. Like, she's doing it for a reason. I don't know how clear that is to a generation growing up on social media. So I don't know. It's a weird area where I feel like us looking at that like, yeah, okay, I get it. We're cynical enough, but I don't know.
I will say, if you have Hulu and you enjoyed the Netflix one, it's if you're interested, it's worth watching the Hulu one also. Not that it's any better, but it's like a slightly different perspective. And you kind of see, kind of shows a few people in a different light. Like the Netflix one, some of the producers of that came off looking a lot better than they really were, because they made this documentary.
I'm not sure everyone was scammed. I think several of them were in on what was going on, but
it was
allegedly.
Anyway,
but I remember as it was happening, the famous picture of the cheese sandwich, and that it was. I remember like websites like, you remember that Ja Rule thing that's going up in flames. Like I remember kind of following along. Like I think I heard about that, but I know I saw the picture of that cheese sandwich, and that's this whole thing was created by social media and memes and that culture, and it was destroyed the exact same way. And now we're getting memes. I saw a few memes about the guy. I don't want to spoil the big.
Who cares?
Kind of shock moment of the whole thing. But I've seen memes about that guy. If you have any idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the old guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
What would he do to...
For a Klondike bar.
Yeah.
Anything. That guy.
Moving on.
Hey, I wanted your opinion your fuller opinion on Bandersnatch. I know we talked very briefly about
Bandersnatch.
it. Yeah, that was the Black Mirror thing. The choose your own path thing.
There's never been a bad episode of Black Mirror.
Right.
There's some that are better than others, but I've enjoyed every single one. I was on board for this one too. I kind of, it's like, what cereal do you want? I'm like, and I have that moment of like, well, what is this going to lead to? And then I'm also OCD, so I have that feeling of like, I need to go back and do the exact opposite of what I did last time and go through all the things again. So, and then there were things I clicked. I'm like, oh, why did I do that? If I was paying attention, I know that that's going to lead to that. And so I felt kind of disarmed where I felt like it was a neat experiment to like, I'm kind of influencing this, but I'm also being sucked along and pulled along with it. So plot-wise, whatever. But I like the experience.
I did not like the experience. and Michael had sent me a message. Oh, you gotta watch that. I was like, I'm planning on watching it. I was like waiting on Nick to get home that night. And I was like, we'll watch it together. We'll make the decisions together. I quickly realized that the decisions did not matter at all. Like if you're saying, oh, I should have known that would happen. I totally disagree. I felt like every decision did not matter. You had no way of predicting. It was just like a choose your own adventure book where any decision could lead to your death.
Well, there were things like we talked about before in video games. I always try to be the good guy. I don't rob the stagecoach or whatever. Yeah. So like I tried to do the least horrible things.
Right.
Like, do you want to punch your dad? It's like, no, I better not.
Right.
But there was one where I'd seen the dog out in the garden. I knew the dog was messing around in the garden, and it was like, where do you want to put this dead body? I was like, oh, why did I go to the garden? So,
that's so funny that you would like struggle with that. But I think the one reason it bothered me more is because I have played these types of video games. Those Walking Dead Telltale games where you are basically doing this. You're making these decisions and clicking, do I do this or that? And you just have a few seconds or whatever. And it's so much it's so much better done in those video games than it is in this, because those don't all result in you losing. Each decision just shapes your story, and you don't lose by doing any of those things. Really, very rarely will you die from that. Where this, it seemed like if you made the wrong decision, that was it. You were dead, and they just led on such short paths. You had to keep going back and going back. Like, I didn't care. I was like, just picnic. I don't even care. Nothing matters. Where on the video games, like I said, you shape an entire story and you get to create your own story. And I know that's much harder to do with film. Yeah. You'd have to. They already filmed so many hours worth of footage just for you to watch for an hour and a half of your story. So it would be almost impossible, but it was just such a letdown compared to that, because I felt like it was like, oh well, just go back to where I have my finger marked in the Choose Your Adventure book, go back there and do that again, and see the different endings. But I was pretty disappointed.
Yeah, I read some reviews and was reading a comment section of people like, oh, did you get this one? I missed. So people were comparing theirs. So there was one that was kind of a happy ending, or that seemed like a correct ending or whatever. Right. But there was one that seemed to have closure, and then there was a bunch of others that were just like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. That's fine. So, what else you got streaming?
I found another documentary about Image Comics. I was watching Deadly Class on Sci-Fi Channel Wednesdays at 9, and there was a commercial for it. I'm like, oh, is that a new thing? Cool. And I went to the sci-fi.com, and it was from November 2017. So there were 5 parts of this documentary called "So Much Damage: How Image Comics Changed the World." So it was 5, like 12 to 15 minute chapters, basically. And they're all streaming on sci-fi.com. And it was interesting. It's all the stuff that we've watched. We talked about the Robert Kirkman History of Comics episode they did. And there was a documentary a couple of years ago about the Image Comics. Mm-hmm. Have they, the 7 hottest artists in comics, left Marvel Comics to form their own thing. And it really changed the history of comics. But this one falls a little bit further. And it talks about the Savage Dragon cartoon and the Wildcats cartoon that were on for a short time in the 90s, the Spawn HBO show, and kind of how Image is still affecting up through, Brian Bendis getting fired by Todd McFarlane on Spawn because he picked Ultimate Spider-Man, and, Brian Bendis and Kelly Sue DeConnick. It's like, so the other couple documentaries just stayed kind of in the 90s, so this one is kind of what that wrought afterwards. So this one gets a little wider in its scope, and I enjoyed it. I'll watch those anytime.
We watched Polar. You said you watched Polar. I had
also
watched
based
Polar.
on a comic book.
Oh, was that?
Yeah, Victor Santos. It was a web comic. He wrote and drew it, and it was picked up by Dark Horse, so it's in trade through Dark Horse Comics.
Yeah, we found out after we did our preview for this year's movies that I was saying there's a movie with Mads Mikkelsen coming out this week called Arctic, and there's Liam Neeson's Cold Pursuit. Then there was also Polar with Mads Mikkelsen on Netflix, and it's like, I don't understand why all these come out at once.
This is a combined
snow
universe.
movies,
this is a snow universe movie.
But it's like a John Wick rip-off movie. He's an there's this group of assassins or whatever, and
it's Jonas Ackerlund, the director, who's more known for music videos.
Yes,
so
it was
very
like that.
Kinetic, very fast-moving and over the top.
A lot of neon and text on the screen. I just like, it was their nod to John Wick. He sees a dog. He's like, I don't need that. Next smash cut. He got the dog. He buys it, takes it home, has a bad dream, shoots the dog, throws away his taking care of your new dog book, burns it. It was like, that was funny.
I liked it. It was very over the top, very violent, but it didn't take itself seriously enough.
You think?
No.
Where he's like totally nude, and like a split second later, he's like a mile away in the snow, nude. And I was like, how did you get there so fast? Why didn't you put a coat on?
He's an assassin.
I don't know. It was crazy. I don't regret watching it, I guess.
I tried to watch, just for Jared Lowe, I tried to watch Watership Down.
How was that? I didn't watch.
Oh my gosh.
As the biggest fan of animation here.
Yeah.
It was like 20 minutes and I was done.
I'm curious.
I did not see the original.
I did. It's pretty
depressing.
It's pretty sad also, yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
The original.
And the new one.
Okay, so you watched it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What did you think of that animation?
I saw somewhere how much money they spent in this movie, and I don't know where it went.
I don't either.
The animation's not great. There were shots that would show the grass blowing in the wind and the sun setting, and it looked gorgeous. And then, like, a dog would come up and like, arr, arr, and it looked like
1990s, like a computer game. It was so bad.
I was like, wow, that's bad.
Yeah.
So there were shots that were great, and then there were shots that looked like a high schooler made them.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It was all over the place.
But the story was super faithful to the book.
Mm-hmm.
The voice acting was great. So yeah, I'm a sucker for the book, so I was gonna like it whether it was good or not. So
yeah, I tried. My daughter turned me on to. She has watched every season of Lemony Snicket's series of Unfortunate Events on Netflix. This is the Neil Patrick Harris series. I think it's on season 4 or 5 maybe now. And I've sat down with her and watched a few episodes, and they are way better than I ever imagined. I'm not a fan of that series, but I mean the quality production on it is very, very good. She is a huge fan of it. Was really getting into they just dropped the new season not too long ago, so we watched it, and for a little kids show, the production level is very, very high. Just that stylized motif they use in it's really, really cool and so different than anything else out there right now. So I wanted to just mention that. This last week I went on a little roller coaster of a ride with Tidying Up with Marie Kondo.
I looked at that and I flipped through all the episodes. And I'm like, do I need to get into this, or do I need to at least see what it is?
Did it not spark joy?
It didn't. I clicked on it and it didn't spark.
Did you hold your television and thank it? I've watched a few episodes and I feel like a horrible person now. I turned it on just to see what it was like. Immediately, the only reason I watched the full episode was because I found her accent hilarious, which is just awful. Just admittedly awful.
The views of Cliff Barnes do not reflect the views of the Ka-Pow podcast.
But then
we do not pigtail with our own views.
Right. And that's exactly that was the experience. This whole idea of picking up a shirt and thanking it, and if it doesn't spark joy, and zing, if it doesn't give you that zing, you throw it away.
She got a lot of crap for saying to get rid of books.
Yeah, I read an article about that.
People were a little, hey, wait a minute. Don't get rid of books.
Before I saw any of that, this was just, I was watching a couple episodes, and I was telling my wife, because she was like, oh, I want to watch that. I want to, do some of this stuff. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, but the whole thing seemed ridiculous to me. Then I went and read an article and made me feel even worse about myself. Just detailing about, the culture the woman is coming from and her religious beliefs and that were taught to her by her mother.
Right, it's coming out of like the Shinto belief that everything has a spirit in it.
Right.
Every rock on the ground is there for a reason, and you should be mindful of it. And
don't make him feel any worse, Barbara.
Exactly.
I'm just saying,
don't repeat it.
But that's where there's people, there's memes just making fun of it, like spark joy.
Right.
But there is something deeper behind it. It's not new age hippie nonsense.
Exactly.
It is very old school thinking of everything in my house should be there for a reason, and I should appreciate it. Like, I'm eating my soup with a spoon. Oh, someone made this spoon. Someone sculpted it. Mm-hmm. Someone thought of it. Someone, I brought it into my house, and it's useful, and it's feeding me, and I should appreciate that. So it's at its core, it's about being mindful and not just mindless consumerism and just accumulating stuff for stuff's sake. But for our culture, that does fly.
It just sounds ridiculous. But then I went like you. I read a little up on it, on her, and the basis behind the whole thing. And then I was like, well, okay, I can try and give it another shot. So I watched another episode, and at least I didn't.
Did you tidy up? Did you fold
I
your
didn't tidy
clothes into envelopes?
I didn't throw them into a big pile and then have to touch them all before I got rid of them or anything.
It reminded me so much of the show. It was years ago, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. But it had to have been like Sci-Fi Channel or something, because everything on it was very nerdy. And it was, they invited a woman to come in who was like a household, house expert, or getting your life together. And then they would take them to see psychiatrists and stuff about, why do you hoard this stuff? And one was about, a guy who collected Transformers and had, the glass cases and everything, and he had millions of Transformers.
Sounds perfectly normal to me.
Right. And one was a guy with long boxes, like, stacked up in his living room. And I remember that one being so mad at that episode, because, like, they had just moved to an apartment or something, and they're moving to a condo, but they wouldn't get it for 6 months or whatever. So it was like, well, eventually this collection will be fine. And she made him, basically guilt-tripped him into selling, like, 5 boxes of his
it's Star Wars figures all over again.
And buying, is there one comic that would bring you as much joy as 5 boxes? So he traded like 5 long boxes for a Hulk 181 First Appearance of Wolverine. And I just remember his face as he's holding it and like, yeah, I guess I like this. So, and there was a guy with like Matchbox cars all over the house. So it was all like nerdy collections. And I read later, it said they were all contacted, hey, we need people to be on this show showing off your awesome collections. So they had no idea someone was going to come in there and be like, something's wrong with you. You better fix yourself. So it only lasted 1 season, but I remember watching it and just thinking, none of these people are happy to be involved with this.
Well, that's what I got out of this show is I noticed the people, their houses were cluttered and for the most part, and they were like messy or whatever. But they weren't hoarders in any sense. And one guy, I think it was in the second episode, there's an older Asian American couple, and the guy has collected baseball cards for like 30 years, but he's just got them piled up. And, he collected them with his kids, and that's why the same thing happened. They were like, well, wouldn't you rather like keep 10 baseball cards that mean something and get rid of this, 6,000 you have here? And he was like, well, yeah, okay, I guess. It was very similar. I was like, no!
The cameras are on, I guess.
So, anyways,
get rid of her.
That was my roller coaster ride this week. Also on Netflix, that's premiered lately, Solo, a Star Wars story. You can watch that. Incredibles 2.
Just watched it last night.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah.
And Punisher.
That's not the review he told me before you got it.
Yeah. Punisher.
It was good. It was fine. It was wonderful, delightful, Pixar.
You never said wonderful.
I'm pretty sure I said delightful.
He was saving it for the podcast.
I just said there's a lot of scenes of people just sitting and talking.
Yeah. There's
really,
not nearly as much action.
There's some really slow moments.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I saw another movie memory, there was a bunch of kids behind me talking. They'd already seen it, and so this kid was telling every scene before it happened. It was a lot of fun.
And then Punisher Season 2 is out also, which I have not watched.
I just finished the first season.
Always
really liked it.
Always right on the edge there at the end, caught up.
I watched Season 2 like 6, 8, 10 months from now.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man and the Wasp was also
Yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Watched that the other day.
And Carmen Sandiego.
Yep.
Where in the world is
they still sing the song there at the beginning? Or?
Do it, Rockapella. There's Gina Rodriguez and Finn Wolfhard voicing 9 half-hour episodes. I did not realize there were almost 300 episodes of that game show on PBS.
Wow.
Like the kids run around learning geography.
I never watched one.
Oh, I was a point.
I saved one. Spark Joy. I just saved the one really good episode.
That's how I know so much about geography during trivia night.
I hate geography.
I remember watching that show religiously, and I did not realize how long it lasted. But there's another cartoon in the 90s that were like 40-some episodes, and Rita Moreno was the voice of Carmen back then.
Wow.
And she is also in the new episode, so all those long-time Carmen Sandiego fans are going to get a little Easter egg.
Cool. All right, did we do it? Let's do okay, Bird Box. You watch Bird Box, right?
That's what we're saying. That seems like so long ago.
Yeah, we don't really need to talk a lot about Bird Box. Everybody saw Bird Box. It became a lot of memes and such, and so
also tying into our talking about, why did you watch it?
Yeah. This was definitely a phenomenon.
And I'm like, I need to watch this or I'm going to get spoiled, or I want to know what people are talking about. Yeah. So probably half the reason I even watched it as quickly as I did, especially, is because I didn't want to be confused by all the memes.
Right. And I'm curious, are they going to do anything for the Super Bowl? Well, by the time you hear this, you already know.
Yeah.
Because that's tomorrow. But last year we had the Cloverfield thing, and that's what this Bird Box felt like. It was just like, you got to watch it right now because everybody's going to be talking about it. So
and how much of that was organic and how much, were Netflix bots out there hashtagging stuff. There were people like, I got tricked into watching Bird Box because they believed, all the talk wasn't, user generated. So there's been controversy. I don't know. I didn't feel tricked into watching it. I know I knew what I was doing. Yeah. I'm like, I guess I gotta watch it.
It's real hard to trick me into watching a movie.
Plus,
probably watch it.
You guys tricked me into watching stuff for this podcast.
So, did you like it or not like it, or what happened?
I think we mentioned on the
right.
Pooh Bah 2018 Pooh Bah Awards, still available.
Still. It's limited time.
Well, I might go behind a paywall someday. When we become an influencer. YouDownWithKPP.com. You can listen to, it was like our last episode.
Yeah, it was
still available.
Still available. All the best movies of 2018. We talked about it briefly. It was worth watching. The first half of it I thought was really tense and exciting. Horror movie, didn't know what was going to happen next. I liked the cast was really good. All you saw in the commercials were Sandra Bullock, but they had John Malkovich, B.D. Wong. I love B.D. Wong. He's amazing. Yeah. Sarah Paulson, Jackie Weaver, Lil Rel Howery, Pruitt Taylor Vince from Shane Shot in Walking Dead.
So let's do. We need to do one job we haven't done in a while. So
one job forever.
Look, I have one job on this lousy ship. It's stupid, but I'm gonna do it. Okay?
You tossers! You had one job to do.
So we thought Sandra Bullock.
Sandy Bullock.
Yeah, you said Sandy. You know her better than I do. Yeah. It's Sandy. You guys go way back. So let's I'll list off some movies.
Please do.
Not all of them. Let's see. I'm going from the bottom to the top here. So looking for something that I've heard of. Who love Potion Number 9.
Nope.
Nope. That thing called Love. Hope Floats. Old Harry Connick Jr. Forces of Nature with Ben Affleck. Premonition. The Net. Remember The Net?
Oh, man. I remember her using her laptop on a beach and thinking, wow. This is amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait. That's just in movies, Jordan. Miss Congeniality series.
Those are great.
2 weeks popular. Notice, 28 days. That's 4 weeks. For those keeping track. The Lake House. Time travel-y. Time to Kill. While You Were Sleeping. Bill Pullman. Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close. Never saw that. Practical Magic. The Heat. With your fave, Melissa McCarthy.
This is right on par with our target demo. I
believe, yeah. Demolition Man.
Oh, there we go.
The Vanishing. Jeff Bridges and Kiefer Sutherland. You don't know that movie? That's desperately edging on my top 100.
It's not right.
It won't make it, but it's a 90s movie where she gets kidnapped. She's Kiefer Sutherland's girlfriend. She gets kidnapped by Jeff Bridges. He's like in this very weird role he's playing. He chloroforms her and takes her. And Kiefer's looking for her the whole movie. It's got a really crazy ending. Let's see. The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds, as some would call him. Crash. Don't like that movie. Let's see. Ocean's 8 was from this year. Bird Box. She did a voice in Minions. And then there was the Speed series. She was in Speed and Speed 2, Cruise Control. Anybody anything sparking joy?
I love Demolition Man.
As
That's
a movie,
great movie.
yeah.
And she's good in it, playing against Sylvester Stallone as the kind of chipper, future cop who, their mannerisms and frames of reference are completely different.
Yeah.
She's actually that's one of the few movies I remember. Hey, Sandra Bullock's good. Like I remember thinking, oh, I like her. She's cool. Until Speed came along, and then Speed's kind of put her on the map, I would say.
Yeah, that's got to be her most famous movie.
Would that be before Demolition Man or after?
After, I think.
Yeah, I think it was after.
I don't know.
Demolition Man was early 90s.
Well, they both are. Speed's 94, Demolition Man is 93, so...
Okay. Oh, that was prime years. Prime Sandy years.
Oh, she won an Academy Award for The Blind Side. Was another movie she had, though.
Again, that seemed kind of a safe Academy Award kind of movie. Same with Crash, where it was like... I'm sure she was good in it, but the movie was so over-the-top dramatic that
She's a weird actress to me because I generally like her, but I can't say that I really care for any of those movies.
It's so funny when we talk about some of these, but I'm so glad we do this, but we'll talk about an actor or actress and I'll look and be like, I like them, and then we'll go through their catalog of stuff and I'm like, I don't like anything they do.
Yeah.
But how do I always think fondly of them? I guess they just always
We've been influenced.
They play a likable... Yeah. Yeah. I've been bird boxed. They'll play a lot of likable characters or something. They're in fine movies, but not my favorite movies.
Well, there's one missing that I wrote down. So
I was saying that's my pick. Yeah. I was saying.
I'm not sure I can pick Demolition Man as
right.
most iconic role, even though I really want to.
Well, I'll say up front that if it so happens that we were to pick Speed, I would not fight about it because that's her most iconic role, I think, and I haven't watched it for years and years, and it possibly doesn't hold up, but I always think of it as just a classic action movie. But no, the movie that I would pick because I really, really like the movie, Alfonso Cuarón, 2013. It's the only movie I would ever tell somebody you should have watched in 3D, because I don't like watching 3D movies, but this was exceptional. And it is Gravity, where she plays Dr. Rhinestone and for her first shuttle mission. And if you know anything about the movie, there's a major catastrophe and she's alone and trying to get back to Earth, and I think she does a great job. It's a phenomenal movie and just a much deeper role than she usually is playing.
I liked the movie Roma this year, Cuarón's new movie. There was a scene of the kids watching a movie on TV about astronauts flying off into space.
Right.
I thought that was neat. Gravity's a good movie. That's another one of those movies that came out and was just nominated for everything, and everyone was like, "Oh, Gravity!" And I was like, "Yeah, it was good." I didn't quite feel that way, but I really
enjoyed it the first time. And like I said, 3D was awesome, but then I've watched it since then, and I liked it even more, just knowing what I was getting, I guess. And it's just a really good movie. I don't know that she is over the top great in it, but she does as good a job as anybody, I guess.
And basically being in every frame of the movie, she holds that movie together. If you don't like her in that movie, then
you're having a problem.
But I think I'd have to go Speed just for my own personal. I've seen that way more than I've seen Gravity.
Right. What's your thinking, Cliff? What do you like her in?
When I think of Sandra Bullock, I've seen Gravity.
Yeah.
And it's fine. I can appreciate it for what it is, but it's not like the iconic Sandra Bullock when I think about it. You know what I mean?
That's what when we do for everyone. We're
explain what we're doing.
Yeah.
Let's explain our pretend rules we've made up.
Yeah.
Get the book out.
Yeah. To new listeners, one job is a thing I created for the show.
I love pretending that we have new listeners.
Yeah.
It makes me feel so good.
But Big Brother episode brought them in. But we're creating our own list. We pick out any kind of creator, artists in comic books, movies, TV, whatever, and we pick what it would be on, as Jordan would say, on their headstone. What's the one thing they should be known for? But it doesn't, like you were saying, it doesn't always have to be though their one most known.
Yeah,
it's between the three of us. It's what we think we want them to be known
which
for.
is why I am picking.
Oh my,
The Proposal.
Okay.
Because she's made way more of those type of movies.
Exactly. That is her type of movie. That is a movie I've seen. My wife. That's a movie she'll sit down and watch if it's on, no matter what.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, or as we call him, Ryan Reynolds. It's a rom-com.
Yeah.
Betty White is in it. She's really good. Set in Alaska. Sandra, it's very typical Sandra Bullock. She plays a big business boss lady who is a
business boss
lady.
That's coming
President
in
Business
2021 Sandra Bullock.
Business boss lady.
That's right. But she's not a nice person. Her assistant or whatever, they find out she's an illegal Canadian.
Oh yeah,
in the country, I believe, and they want to deport her, I believe. So she chases her assistant to Alaska and meets his family as his because she wants to marry him so she can stay in the country. Is the basis of the movie. But as far as her roles go, I mean that's as Sandra Bullock-y as it gets to me.
Honestly, if I close my eyes and you say Sandra Bullock, I think of like Miss Congeniality, or the like that's
right.
You think of her as the love interest in a wacky comedy.
Yeah.
But my favorite are when she's a little more tough and the stuff she's kind of grown into lately.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna jump in.
She's very good in Bird Box. She's excellent.
Yeah.
For all the memes and whatever, and everyone's joking about it, like she turns in a wonderful performance.
Okay, well he picked Proposal. I picked Gravity. Your pick.
I picked Speed.
I was like, I'm gonna put him on the spot. Yeah. So now what do we do? Rochambeau?
We gotta get the book out.
This is where somebody's got to cave. And I guess I'll cave and say Speed. We'll just go with that.
Speed.
I was thinking about caving.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Pop quiz, hot shot. What's Sandra Bullock's best movie?
In the annals of Ka-Pow history, it will forever be the only thing she ever did was Speed. What was her name? Annie something, right?
What was her name?
What was Annie Porter? I think it was Annie.
You didn't leave me.
Didn't have anywhere to be just then.
So that's it.
That's a romantic movie.
Yeah.
Where sparks flying with Keanu.
True.
Spark joy.
It's no lake house.
I have to warn you. I've heard relationships based on intense experiences never work.
Okay. We'll have to base it on sex then.
Whatever you say, ma'am.
Oh boy.
Was there more sparks in that lake house movie with the two of them? I don't know. Some more mailboxes.
Thank you for tuning in once again to Ka-Pow, the Pop Culture Podcast. You can find us at
www.udownwithkpp.com.
And has anyone tweeted us since last episode?
Seth, you run the Twitter.
Yeah, somebody did.
Somebody
Sweet.
did. Ooh.
Thanks for your tweet, whoever you were.
We
it was probably a Russian bot.
At the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter.
There you go.
We'll read them.
I might tweet sometime. I don't know.
iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, you name it.
We're all there. But mostly you find us on Facebook.
Yep.
And that's where we do most of our interactions and posts. And it'll let you know when a new podcast comes out.
We want to talk to you. My name is Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Goodbye forever.
Ka-Pow, the Pop Culture Podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com.
We're going to keep this one under 2 hours. How we do, Cliff?
pretty good.
Okay. Well, let's ruin it because I want to talk about something. This is the post credits thing.
Oh no, swerve!
I gotta talk about this movie real quick. We're not doing a movie section, but I gotta talk to you guys about Serenity. I sent you a little article about it because I knew you wouldn't go see it, but I saw the most bat crazy movie this past week with Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, and those are Oscar winners, by the way. I want to point that out. They're in this movie that looks like a neo-noir. He's a fisherman, and she comes to him and wants him to take her husband out to sea and push him off the boat, kill him for some money.
That's very noirish.
Yes, and I was like...
Throw McConaughey from the train.
And I saw they pushed it to January, so I was like, this must not be very good if they pushed it at the beginning of the year, but I'm still going to go see it. It has the craziest, stupidest twist ever that just made my brain bleed. I think I told you guys. And I'm going to spoil it. So here, anybody that does not want to hear spoilers for Serenity, if you're never going to see it, stick around because you really need to hear this.
Wash gets killed by the Reavers.
Here it is. Spoiler.
How can they make a movie called Serenity? That's the biggest twist.
Yeah, I know. That's not the twist. So apparently they have a kid together, and she wants him to kill the stepdad because he's violent to her and all this, and it's just a crazy movie. Nothing makes sense. Diane Lane is there, and he goes and has sex with her, and she pays him money to have sex with her. And he's like naked a lot in this movie. Like he goes, he's like, I need to take a bath, and he walks over the cliff and dives in the water naked and swims around, and that's how he takes a bath. And I'm like, what is going on? And then he talks to people in the town, and everybody knows what's going on in the town. They all have weird conversations. And when I tell you what the spoiler is, some of this will make sense, even though nothing makes sense in this movie. But at the end, you find out that it was a video game created by his son, and Matthew McConaughey's been dead this whole time. He died in the war, and his son made this video game where his dad fishes for a fish called Justice, and to get justice against the stepdad that beats his mom or whatever, and then the kid goes and stabs his stepdad in real life, and it's totally ridiculous.
Violent video games do make kids.
But it's just so crazy. We were all laughing out loud in the theater at it, and it was a real come together moment for the theater. It was so ridiculous. Like it will absolutely probably be at the bottom of my list for the year.
I believe it was saying that both those people's like lowest box office.
Oh my gosh,
their careers.
It's so awful. Nothing makes sense, especially the fact that this kid supposedly made this game and controls everything that's going on in it, and there's a lot of weird beatings and sexual things between his parents and stuff.
It'd be a lot cooler if I had pants.
Yeah. The best thing is you get shots of him swimming. You really have to set the camera bright to be able to see his ass and his face in the same shot all the time. Anyway, whatever. Go see Serenity. It's an experience.
All right. Well, that was a little bonus for all the Jessies out there.